Hello folks, it's Ardoyne boxing historian Eamon McAuley here, but I'm not here to talk about boxing tonight. I want to talk about the 10 times when I was lucky to be alive. Following on from the night I could have been shot, the night Martin Lavery was shot dead on the Crumlin Road, I was to get my lift to work. I was waiting on my lift to work, but when I arrived, he had just been shot. The pandemonium had broke out. The shouting and squealing was very unsettling. And while I was waiting on my lift, the ambulance arrived. But if I had been there 5 minutes earlier, I'd have been shot too. Because I used to wait in a wee island on them and coming past. They'd have picked me up and then when I went on. That wee island was directly facing Martin Lavery's house. I mean, I would have been a number of feet away. And loyalists would have shot me too. So I was very blessed, very lucky that night. But yes, in 1973 or 1974 or 1975, I was down in Newcastle in the Mourne Mountains. I think it was with the Ardoyne Youth Club. I was with my big mate and next door neighbour Lawrence McCurry. And there was like a lagoon and there was a few people swimming in it, but I couldn't swim. But I put my feet in and I went in inch by inch and then I slipped and fell right in and I couldn't swim, so I still remember the number of seconds I was under that water. And yeah, a fella jumped in, a fella called Jared Davison, who now lives in California, USA. He jumped in and pulled me out. So thanks, Jared, I appreciate that. The night my two mates were in a bar and they rang me to come down and join them. I was on my way down the taxi when one of them rang and says, change of plan, we're going to meet you in the Chester instead. But as they were leaving the bar, they got into a row and they were both stabbed. One of them lived and one of them died. And as I say, I was in a taxi on my way down to meet them. That telephone call changed my whole life. So God was with me that night. My guardian angel protected me. One night in 1981, me and three other boxers were coming home from the Sacred Heart Boxing Club. And in Homedean Gardens, we said cheerio to two of the boxers. And that left me and Jerry Stafford. We were walking along the Berwick Road, and at the bottom of Astorial I said cheerio to Jerry, as I lived in Astorial. Jerry lived in the next street, Cranbrook Gardens. As he was walking along the Berwick, he passed a fella that he knew called Paul Blake, and they both nodded to each other. And as Jerry opened his gate in Cranbrook, he seen the car pulling up to Paul, and as he put his key in the lock, he heard the shots. Paul was shot dead. And yeah, I had just walked into the house and put my bag down when the shots rang out. And you know, I was blessed that night too. Poor Paul Blake, may he rest in paradise. One night at the Ardoyne Fly, I was drunk, and I'm not a big drinker. And I was with two friends when a guy I knew called me over. He pointed out a man who had done me a grave injustice. And this guy was a top guy in the IRA that he pointed out. The alcohol I had consumed had given me false courage. And I'm a fucking idiot when I'm drunk. I said to my two friends, I'm going to go over and knock him out. And my two friends says, they don't want anything to do with it. I wasn't being brave. I was being stupid. Very stupid. My two friends said, Eamon, we don't want no part of this. So I dandered over to the fella, and he was standing with 3 or 4 of his mates. I made up my mind that when he turns round to me, I'm going to chin him. I stood behind them for 10 minutes as they laughed and joked. oblivious to my presence. Eventually one of them turned around and says, "Are you alright, mate?" And I says, "Yeah, I'm alright." Then I started to lose courage, and I realised this could all end up with me getting shot dead. As this guy was a protected guy and untouchable. So I moved away. When I woke up the next morning, I was horrified. And I was so angry at myself. So angry how stupid I had been. But I also praised God and thanked my guardian angel. A few years later, this fella was shot dead. And within days, the fella who shot him dead was shot dead himself. A local source said that this was payback. He said that this was a warning for anybody else who may think of settling old scores with any IRA members. On 2 occasions I was just about to step out onto the road when a car came speeding by at 40 miles an hour. Something stopped me from taking one more step. I would have been killed instantly. The first one was on the Antrim Road, and I went straight to a chapel and I prayed. And I praised Jesus and thanked my guardian angel. Another one here, I had left the Clifton Tavern a few weeks. I was doing the door there when the UVF killed Edmund Traynor on the front door. A doorman that I had got started a few weeks earlier, Bill Gilmore, also got shot in the stomach. Bill died sometime after that, but his family said that the shooting accelerated his death. I had left the Glengannon club up in Dungannon a few weeks earlier when doorman Seamus Dillon was shot dead on the front door. During the 12th of July marches, I was standing at my front door when a chunk of a pipe bomb hit the metal gates, head height, on my left side as I'm looking outwards, and it ricocheted downwards and got trapped at the bottom of our gate. The rat-a-tat, I never forget. I mean, I didn't know what was going on. I looked down and saw a red hot piece of metal or lead, the size of my hand. It took me a wee while to get my thoughts together. I looked at where this object hit, and there was an indentation on the metal gates. I was less than 2 feet away from where it hit the metal gates, less than 2 feet. When I brought the metal or lead round to the crowd on the front road, it was Sinn Féin's Bobby Story who confirmed to me that this was indeed part of a pipe bomb. Where it came from, we will never know. If it had have struck me in the face, as it very nearly did, then it certainly would have been a closed coffin. I'd done the door in Belfast for 32 years. People overseas think that it would have been really hard to be a doorman in Belfast during the Troubles. But it wasn't. In 32 years, I have had 2 punches thrown at me, and they both missed. Punched a few people, dragged a few people out, and this one time I smashed a fella's head against a stained glass window. I broke a couple of guys' noses and I got a couple of convictions, but I was a nice doorman. I know I was. And the most important quality for a doorman was to be nice and friendly. And I was. Yep, that's me for now, folks. Speak to you soon. God bless.